All right. Welcome to the Night Hunting Podcast, a podcast dedicated to night hunters and all about night hunting. So, I'm your host, Tony Abreu, and this is going to be episode number 16. And in this episode, we are talking about night vision scope brands. So, let me turn that off because that's just my echo. But we're going to be talking about night vision and thermal scope brands for night hunting. So, this podcast, ooh, that's really bright. So, I'm not sure why that's so bright. Maybe that's just, anyways, just working on this. Got that. Man, that's so bright. Okay. Just trying to figure this out. That's really bright. I don't understand why it's so bright. Give me one sec here. It's a little less bright. That would be brighter, maybe. Oh, might fix it a little bit. Okay, perfect. So on this week, we're talking about the night vision and thermal brands for night hunting. And I just wanted to basically go through a quick rundown of the different brands there are. And this podcast is dedicated to, or actually brought to you by perceptivegear.com, which is really perceptiveoutdoorgear.com. And what that is a store that I have, online store. And basically, I sell night vision and thermal optics, as well as some night hunting stuff, tripods, stuff like that. Relatively on the small side, but we are basically, growing, and this podcast is dedicated to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and let me get rid of that real quick. And cool. So I'm going to share my screen up top here, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to try to figure out how to actually put my head up there, which I think I can do. And we're going to go from there. So I'm going to share that, and we're going to talk about the different brands. So I've been night hunting since it's got to be like 15 or it's 2015 or 16. I don't know exactly. It's been quite a few years. And if you listen to this podcast, like as it's been going, the first scope that I ever owned was, let me move this guy up here. So the first scope that I ever owned was by a brand called ATN. Now ATN back then, they didn't even have this here. This is the X-Sight 4K. I'm not even sure what they have now, but I will give you a little rundown on them. They actually just came out with the new X-Sight 5s and also the Thor 5s, the X-Sight being their night vision scope and the Thor being their thermal scope. So the first scope that I ever owned from them, which, by the way, I have in a drawer right here. I think. Where's it at? It's in there. Yes. The X-Sight HD. And that was the first one that I ever owned from them. It did have a rubber eye cup. I lost my eye cup for another scope. I took it off and put it on the other one. This scope still works in the daytime, but at nighttime it has some issue, and it's just so old. I never really thought about sending it back. But this scope, brand new, whenever I bought it, was like $6.99, $5.99. And what it was I think it was the 5-power one. They had a 5x base magnification. And then they also had a 3x base magnification. And I got the 5x, which, by the way, if you're hunting like less than 40 yards, 5x is way too close. So I got that scope. And what I would do was First, I would sit in the tree stand after dark, and the pigs would come. I would shoot them down in the dark using the infrared light, and that was pretty cool for a while. And then we started. I remember I had that scope on a 300 blackout with a huge battery pack, and the gun had to weigh 15 pounds. I mean, it was so ridiculously heavy. And then something happened and the scope updated. I went to update the scope and somehow the batteries ran out during the update and it totally crashed the whole scope. Had to send it back. So I sent it back and they did something to it and sent it back to me. And whenever they did, the new X-Sight 4 just came out, which is going to be like right here. And I'm not sure what the INT stands for, but it was really the Pro, the X-Sight 4K Pro, which is what I got. And that thing came out and I like got it as soon as it came out, and it was absolutely amazing. Like, wow, that scope was so cool. But again, I got the 5 power and I had so many close shots at 5 power, it was just hard to use. So I realized really quick that base magnification means a lot. Now, if you're in wide open fields and there's low vegetation, then a 5 power would be great all day long as you have a light to go with it that'll go that far. But having such close shots and long shots too. I mean, I was just totally, you would get one shot in the close and never get another one because it was just too hard to acquire your target once they started moving. So anyways, so that being said, got that scope, ran it for a while, and then they actually, let me just tell you a quick on this scope. So the ATNs, the HDs weren't bad. They did freeze up a little bit. The 4Ks actually froze up quite a bit. Mine froze up now. Mine froze up. There was a sleep mode in there, and whenever the sleep mode was on, it would cause the whole thing to freeze up, and then it would be stuck. I figured out really quick to turn that off, and I never really had another problem with mine. But I know that I monitor a lot of Facebook forums and groups, and a lot of people have problems with them freezing up. And also, I know a guy, I don't know the guy, but my buddy has a friend who has a brand new, and it was brand new before the 5Ks come out, because the 5Ks just came out right now. And the actual the 5 series thermal scopes are coming out, but he's got a 4K thermal scope of the Thor, a 640 unit. And the first time I looked at it, it froze up 4 times in 5 minutes. And apparently, from what that guy said, he said something to do with if the scope is not fully charged, it does that. And he actually called ATN's customer service, and they said that they would fix it for him if he wanted to send it in. So I'm not saying that they don't have good customer service, but sometimes some of their customers fall through the cracks, and I think they need a little bit better line of communication with their customers whenever their customers are having problems. And they've came a long way, and I'm not saying they're bad stuff. I just, I do sell some of them, but I don't really stock them. And they are good scopes. I mean, their user interface is really good. Their scopes are kind of big, but they're really, really good scopes. Like, as far as the picture and all the features inside, I mean, they're really good scopes as far as that goes. They just, the freezing up part. Like, I got a friend that's got one right now, and it freezes up and it won't do anything. You have to shut it off. Now, there was basically some kind of download that you could put the scope through to try to fix that. I've never done that. I probably need to, just to see if it would work with his scope and just for my knowledge, because I love like playing with this stuff, but I have not yet. And that's where we're at. So now this is 2023, and they just came out with the new X-Sight 5 line, which are a little bit smaller. They have a little bit better sensor in them. They have rangefinders built in. By the way, the older style 4 series, you could pair a rangefinder up with them, which was another cool feature that most scopes don't have. So that's as far as the night vision goes. As far as thermal imaging goes with the ATN, they are selling these new ones. The new ones have all the way up to a 1280 resolution, but they are not quite out yet, but they're coming very soon. And I'm very curious to see how they do, just because they're a popular scope. You know, ATN's a really popular brand, and that's just what I know about them. So I'm not sure if they're made in America. I don't think they're made in America. Um, but I do know that they're somewhere, they have locations, and they're, I think, out of California or something. And I definitely talked to their customer service personally on some issues that I had. And actually, they sent me a scope on accident one time, and I let them know and sent it back, and they rewarded me very, very handsomely for doing that. So I really can't talk bad about them. I just know that a lot of some people, some dealers, they won't even talk about them. So, but this podcast is really just bringing light to everything. I'm not really too, it's more for the content. I just really want to talk about everything that's going on in the whole night vision and thermal. So the second brand that I want to talk about is Pulsar. So Pulsar is a European brand. They are obviously, they sell here in America, but they are Pulsar, man. To me, Pulsar is way up there as far as like, they're not, maybe not top tier, but they're definitely mid to top tier, or at least mid tier. And they are super, super good quality, very, very good interface as far as the user interface goes. They're using super good sensors, which is called the Linred sensor, for their thermals. And they even have night vision as well, but not as many night vision models as, say, ATN, but they do have them. And the Pulsar was actually one of the first rifle scopes that I had. I had a Pulsar Thermion XQ50, and that scope was absolutely amazing. And it was only a 384 resolution scope, but I promise you, one time I was out and looking across a cow pasture, and on the other side of the cow pasture was a car going down a road that I could see in the darkness with the scope. It was a 3.5 power base magnification, and I ranged that on Google Maps, and it was 1,850 yards. So, and that was just for a 384 scope. So that scope was really good. And they just keep getting better and better. They're very, very, very competitive in the market. They're priced a little higher than some of the other ones, which, ATN is priced a little lower on some aspects. But as far as like what they have, and they do have some lower price scopes as well, that they're trying to be in that price range. But as far as what they have really, really good stuff. So if we just go in here, let's go to, well, they have binoculars, they have monoculars, they have all this new stuff coming out. But I really wanted to talk about the night vision rifle scopes that they have right now, which is Digex C50. I do not have experience with that scope, although I'd like to get one sometime and just check it out. It's a 3.5 power base mag, but it has the same user interface as the other ones, same battery stuff. I mean, those scopes are really good as far as the thermals that I've seen and used. And then if we go to thermal rifle scopes, they got a couple different models. This is the lower priced one that they're talking about, which is supposed to be a compact scope, a thermal scope. And they start at like $24.99. And then the Thermions, which is the one I had, but this is another version, the newer version. Those are good too. They go all the way up to 640 resolution. And then they have the Thermion 2 LRF, which is really good. These are in the mid 6,000 range, but they have this rangefinder, and my buddy has the Thermion 2 LRF, the XP 50, which is the XP 50 Pro, which is a 640 resolution to X base magnification. And they just came out with their new ballistic app, and he put that in his scope, which is a 2-power scope shooting a 223 bolt action. And he was telling me the other night that set all the ballistics in that scope at 100 yards, and at 230 he hit steel with it, and at 400 and I don't know if it was 430 or 460, I can't remember exactly, but over 400 yards he shot in the middle of a steel target. I think it was a 6-inch steel circle, and he hit within 3 inches of the center of it, which on a 2-power scope, it's hard to get in the very, very center of it anyways at 400 yards. And he hit it. It just totally amazed. It blew his mind. So, and I mean, I totally get it. That's really good stuff. Also, ATNs have that capability as well, but this is new. And I haven't really used it on the ATNs, and I haven't used it on the pulsars either, but he has, and I thought that was a really cool story to share. So that pretty much wraps up the pulsar. They got monoculars as well. They have a whole bunch of stuff, but basically we're just talking about the different brands. So the next brand that I want to talk about is the Sightmark brand. So Sightmark has digital night vision scopes. They used to have what they call the Photon. I'm going to come down to these here in a second, but they used to have the Photon, and they don't make that one anymore. That one was, I think, just a night scope. I think you might have been able to use it during the day, but it wasn't color. All their scopes now are full color. The first scope they came out with was this Wraith HD4 that's got an HD sensor in it. And then they came out with the HD2, both under $500. I've owned both of those scopes, and they both work really well. The 4-power was a little much for my liking. The 2-power maybe a little, I mean, good for some of my stuff, but then again, when you're in the longer fields, the two on a night vision is not really enough. You know, I like a 3-power. So those are super popular. They came out first. I've sold tons of these, and actually, you know, even the ones that I had, I sold just because I like to get stuff, sample it, and then move on. So the next one they came out with was the Wraith 4K, which was kind of resembling the ATN 4K, or they were kind of like trying to get in that class. And honestly, I have one of these right now, the 4K Max. And then they came out with the 4K Mini. I've actually took a 4K Mini out of a box one time just to look at it, but basically was selling them and never really used it. It's really tiny, which is a good thing. But apparently, you know, I've never really looked through it, but I did hear from some people that the monitor inside is super, super small. You know, I can't really attest to that, but this scope right here, I've definitely had for a little while using it, and it has a function where it auto records your shot, which is really cool. It is a little bit weird as far as like the settings go, as far as like what you would want to set your video settings. There's a lot of settings in there, and I just basically turned them all the way down because they eat up a lot of memory super fast, and they don't really look that good in darkness. So I figured that part out. And then I let a buddy borrow this scope one time because he was going to possibly buy it. And it was locking up and freezing up and doing all kinds of weird stuff. And he gave it back to me and was ready to throw it. And I basically did a hard reset on it, and it all went away. The one thing that I don't like about that scope is that it does not have a function to turn off the display. At least to my knowledge, I haven't figured that out yet or found that. So, but other than that, it's a good scope, good clarity. I like the auto record function. And right now I have one of those. It's a 3-power base mag. I have one sitting on an air gun. So that's pretty cool. Hopefully some footage coming soon. So, and then they came out with just a couple of weeks ago, they came out with this new Wraith Mini Thermal. And the Wraith Mini Thermal is a 2-power base mag. It's supposed to be like a $2,000 in the $2,000 price range. It does record video, but it doesn't have like all the other bells and whistles as some of the other scopes do, which is like Wi-Fi, stuff like that. But it does record video, and it also uses CR123 batteries, which I use them. I don't like them the best, but they are okay. Most people run them off of battery packs, which I have on my website. I sell a ton of them. So Wraith Mini Thermal, pretty cool. One day I do want to check one of those out, but until then, we are just at talking about it. So the next brand that I want to talk about is AGM. So AGM came onto the scene a couple years ago. They used to be the Armasight guys. They used to own Armasight. I believe they sold it to FLIR. I'm not sure what their status is right now because I know FLIR kind of quit doing stuff in the civilian market. I know Armasight just came out with something like not too long ago. I don't know. I don't think these guys are still involved with Armasight, but this is AGM, and I really like AGM. So to me, AGM, they have a huge warranty on their thermals. Their thermals are, in my opinion, they are, for the money, they are very, very, very well priced. Like, you get a lot for your money. Like, something that you can get in with like any resolution, or even some of their smaller scopes and their lower resolution, they're just perfectly priced in the market, and they have all the features that most of the other ones do, or most of the features. And as far as what you get for your money, I feel like these are really good for what you get for your money. It's hard for me not to sell them because of the fact that you get so much for the money that they cost. So just really quick, monoculars, to me, they're monoculars, even these smaller ones. This is the first one I ever had. It's a 160. It's under $500, but really it's not that good for maybe out to 100. But then getting into the 384 monocular, like this one right here, the Taipans, as far as like the size of them and how compact they are, they're amazing. They're good for the money. They have internal battery. They record, they stream. They just do so much for the money. It's hard for me not to push them. So that's the monocular part. I really don't have experience. The Sidewinders just came out. They're a lot bigger than these, or than the Taipans. I know they have the Sting IR, which is a super, super tiny unit. It doesn't record or anything. But, the monoculars are, to me, I sell a lot of them because they are just like small, compact, and then for the money, it's hard to beat them. So then thermal weapon sights. Really, the Rattlers, one of their most popular ones. I sell tons of those. They have 256 resolution. They have 384 resolution right here. And then they also have a 640 resolution. Currently, I am running a Rattler 35 640 on one of my weapons. And I like that scope. It's really good. As far as thermal goes, it's a 2x base magnification. And I mean, for thermal, you can get away with 2x, especially with a 640, because you can see a long ways with it and still see really good up close. So that's really cool. They also have the adder, which again is for the money. Like, this is, even though they're priced a little higher on their website because they want dealers to sell them, which I am a dealer, this scope is $24.99. And it has an internal battery with almost a 15-hour battery life. It comes with a $200 mount, a one-piece $200 mount that helps you put it on your gun. And man, it's a really good deal. And I've had one of these, and the picture is really good for what it is. It's super crispy. It's got a lot of clarity even in fog. It's just a really good scope. So the adders, that's probably one of the second best selling. And then the third best selling is the Varmint LRF, which I've definitely had one of those as well. The AGM Varmint LRF 35384. This is a 3-power little compact scope. It's a little bit bigger than the Rattler. The Rattler is super compact. So you could use this as a monocular. You could use this as a monocular as well. It's that small. And this one has a 600-yard rangefinder on it. And then it uses 18650 batteries. My buddy has this scope and this scope, and he uses this scope more, but he just got this one too, which both of them he bought for me. And he runs this one off of a battery pack. This one doesn't need a battery pack. I mean, it has tons of battery already on board. So All those scopes are really good. They all record, they all stream. Um, just really good scopes. And then the adders actually have a automatic shot record as well. None of the other ones do. So that's pretty much with the thermal on the AGM. AGM just came out um, with new night vision scopes. So that varmint housing here, they just put a night vision scope in that housing, which is called the Neath. This was released a couple months ago, and it has an built-in IR right here, and then you can also just add on an IR if you don't want to use this one. I think it's like $7.99, and I don't have experience with that yet, although that will be coming soon. And then they are just about to release this one next week, which is a Spectrum IR, which is basically another night vision scope in the adder frame, which is more traditional style. This is more compact style. This one will not ship with a mount, just so you know. And I'm sure it has the same interface as all the other ones, and looking forward to seeing that one out as well. So again, I don't have experience with those, so I can't really talk too much about them. But and then AGM also and even ATN, they have, you know, basically they do night vision stuff as well. And I'm talking about like Gen 1, 2, and 3 night vision. All the stuff, the night vision I've talked about to this point has been digital night vision. So that's pretty much it for AGM. So the next brand that I want to talk about is Bearing Optics. So Bearing Optics is a company. They're out of Texas. They've been around for a little while. Their website is really, really simple. And they just do a lot of word of mouth selling. They have dealers and they do a lot of selling by word of mouth. And they're pretty popular, I will say. I have definitely owned a Super Hogster, which is a thermal, super tiny thermal. Love that scope. It was really had a super good picture in it. Not sure, but at one point I had heard that they were running an iRay sensor in there, which I'll talk about iRay in a minute, but I can't verify that for sure. But that scope right there was the original, the Hogster, and AGM actually, their Rattler brand, which is that scope right there, was kind of modeled after the Hogster. So that, you know, it's kind of, this one was out first. And then Bearing came out with the Yoder, which is a 640 resolution. The Hogster is a 384 resolution. The Yoder is really cool. I've sold tons of those as well. The Super Yoder comes in a 3 power, and it also comes in a 2 power and a 1.5 power. And then the Hogster actually comes in a 2 power and a 1.5 power as well. And then they have a lower 256 model Hogster Stimulus, which is kind of like a 2.5 power unit. And I haven't really sold any of those, but they're definitely there for the lower price models. And a lot of times, you know, people want to go from night vision to thermal, and it's kind of just a quick jump going from 500 or 1,000 to maybe 1,500, versus most of your, you know, your better thermals with the 384 are going to start at right around $2,000. So Bearing also has a lot of night vision and stuff like that. I don't really sell that kind of stuff. They do red dot sights. They do all kinds of stuff. To me, you know, I just really mess with the night vision and the thermal. They have a night vision rifle scope that I have kind of had my eye on. Not sure if it is, I think it's digital, but I'm not really sure about it. And it's not a bad price. It's just that, you know, some of the other scopes that you can get for the same price just have a lot more features, and I'm a feature rich kind of guy. I just like features. So I just really haven't messed with it. I'm sure it's good though. Generally their stuff is really decent. So the next brand I want to talk about is Infraray or iRay. And Abreu is a company out of China. They make all kinds of thermal sensors, but Abreu USA is a company here in the States that basically um, they take and they, I guess, they manufacture the scopes here. I'm not sure exactly. I am not a dealer for them right now, although there's a guy in our area that demos a lot of scopes for them, like scopes that aren't even out yet. And I know the pictures on these are really good, but again, they have, issues with some of the scopes not working, which, it's technology. I mean, sometimes things happen. I get that. And I've never used one. I've never even really looked through one, but I know they're there, and I know that I follow a lot of the forums and a lot of the stuff that goes on with these, and they seem to be really, really crispy in their clarity. So they are definitely priced a little higher than AGM. They're actually priced a lot higher than AGM, I'm going to say. So they're like kind of up there, even maybe even a little higher than Pulsar. But, and this scope right here was the first, this Ricoh HD RS75 was the first 1280 resolution civilian scope on the market. It started, I guess people were talking about it was $18,000 when it first came out. I know the prices drop significantly or will drop significantly after it's used, because I've seen people advertising them on for sale on Facebook for like 13 grand. So $6,000 drop in price after 6 months is ridiculous. So I don't know, man. I'm just gonna let the hypes calm down before I start going and messing with stuff like that. But there are people that make content with them and make really good content, and the content is super, super, super high definition, no doubt. So that's Abreu. I maybe would become a dealer for them one day, but at this point, I'm not really worried about it. At this point, just wanted to talk about them because they're definitely a player in the industry. So, and they're more, closer to higher tier. So the next brand that I want to talk about is Envision Optics. Envision is 100% American made. They use what they call a BAE core, and they are assembled and manufactured in America. And I'm not sure, but I think they try to use all American parts, and they are at the top of the food chain as far as price goes. I think they start anywhere from like 7,500 and go up to 10 grand. Um, and they have, as far as like, I've seen video from some of their stuff and it's really good. But a lot of your professional hunters are using the Envision scopes, and this one in particular, the Halo XRF, they have a 5-year warranty. And if you send them a scope, or maybe that might be Abreu. If you send them a scope, they'll have you one back within 5 days. So at least that's something that I've heard talk about. The Envision, I'm not really sure, but at the same time, it's pretty quality stuff. Although, I've heard issues with these too in some instances, but at the same time, it's going to happen. So, but these are more at the top of the food chain. And then the last brand that I want to talk about is Full Moon Optics. And I know this guy is out of Georgia. I don't know him, but I know there was a guy around this area that talked about using these. And I'm not, the price on these is going to be, I think they just do thermal. And yeah, you're looking at a $5,000 scope here. I believe that's a 640 unit. So that's really not priced too bad. I guess you can go to different lengths here, but I've never used these. I'm not sure if they have recording. I mean, the thing is that I like having features. I like the recording stuff. I like audio. I like Wi-Fi. I use all this stuff whenever I'm out doing stuff and showing people and doing, the hunting that I do. And, I'm just not sure what these have, but I did want to bring them to the attention of this video because it is about night vision and thermal brands. So that's pretty much going to wrap up this section of the podcast. And I'm going to close all these down, except for one, maybe just to keep it on there. And then just kind of finish talking. So let's see. Maybe I will. Yeah, I'll just keep talking. So as far as generally after I get done with the first segment of the podcast, I kind of go into what's been going on with me. And honestly, I missed the podcast last week, which I try to do this every week. And it's kind of a live thing, but it's kind of, gets recorded so people can watch it later. And it's more for the content aspect of everything. But last week on Tuesday, which on Tuesday morning, I hurt my back really bad. And I couldn't even get out of bed Tuesday night to get to my computer. So it was pretty bad. And today was the first day I've been back to work in a week. So it's still not perfect, but it's bad enough. And, I just am trying to recover and trying not to hurt my back anymore. So I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but I'm just trying to take precautions not to be so hard on it. And so that's really what's going on with me as far as that goes. If you did watch last week's video, you may have seen me show the Talon SS air rifle that I got, and it has mounted on it the Sightmark Wraith 4K Max, which is the one I talked about earlier in this video. And before Tuesday, like maybe on last Saturday or Sunday, I went out and actually sighted that in. That gun is a 25 caliber. It holds 3,000 psi. It has a ton of shots. But the only difference is the Air Force, and maybe I'll talk about the air guns here on an episode soon. But I ended up buying that without doing a lot of research, and it's an Air Force air rifle. And apparently, after doing research, after I bought it, I should have bought the next model up, which was the Condor. But I bought the Talon, and the Talon is the lower power one. It's 25 caliber. The things that disappointed me after my research was the fact that you can hunt deer in Georgia and Florida, which are the two. I mean, I live in Florida and Georgia's close. You can hunt deer in Georgia with air rifles, but it has to be a minimum of 30 caliber. And I bought a 25. So that's a little bit depressing. But at the same time, I still bought it for the purpose of taking down a pig and a hog with it, and I will do that. So right now it's a 25 caliber, and I'm shooting a 55 grain slug out of it, which is a hollow point slug. Looks just like almost like a bullet weight that goes in front of a worm, except for it doesn't have a hole in the bottom, so it'll actually push. And man, I haven't really taken it out yet, although I will be taking it out this week, maybe twice. And I just really want to see what it's going to do. I'm pretty sure it has the power to knock something down at 25 yards. I have a couple of places where I can make that happen. And then also definitely like I have places where I've had coyotes come in less than 20 yards. I mean, the last one that we put down was at 43 yards, and I know I could have shot that then. So, my whole goal is to be able to do that, and I know that I should be able to do that. But the reason that I say that I was kind of disappointed in the Air Force brand is because they are not regulated, and they are pretty much like 10 years behind all the technology out with all of the air guns right now, as far as from what I've researched to this point. So I'm not sure where that's going to go. I may try to put a little more into that just to try to get a little bit better. But I have shot two bottles, like basically plastic water bottles with that. Both of them were empty. And the first one was a small Mountain Dew bottle, so it was a little thicker plastic, and it totally blew the cap off of it at 25 yards. And then the second one, I shot an empty water bottle, a Publix water bottle, which is super thin, and it went through at the basically the neck right before it gets to the top. It went through and just sent the thing down range, and it went through with no effort at all. So I'm pretty sure that 55 grain is going to do some damage. But hopefully I will get some footage this weekend. And I also need to see if that thing, because it's so quiet and it doesn't kick at all. And I'm curious to see if it's even auto recording on the Wraith 4K Max, because it does have an auto record function. So just little things that I'm kind of working through there. But I'm going to try to get back out this week, even though my back is not 100% healed. It's definitely feeling better every day. And that's pretty much going to wrap up as far as like what's going on with me right now. So not sure what the next week's episode is going to be about, but I'm just going to keep putting content up here every week as long as I can make it. And again, I want to point out that this podcast is brought to you by Perceptive Outdoor Gear, which is perceptivegear.com. And I'm always working on making that website better. And if you have any questions, or I can help you out with anything with thermal optics or night vision optics or hunting tripods or even night hunting, give me a shout. My phone number is on the top of that website at perceptivegear.com. And then you can always email me at tony@perceptiveoutdoors.com. And we're going to go ahead and end this episode. So thanks for watching. If you like this format, definitely drop a thumbs up, smash the like button, and subscribe. We're definitely picking up subscribers slowly, but this is something that I started from scratch, so I'm trying to build momentum. And I appreciate everyone that watches, listens, however you want to do it. But I appreciate it. And reach out if you have any questions, and we'll see you next week on the next episode.